This video is proudly sponsored by DigimonCard.io for all your Digimon card, deck building, deck list, card pricing, and discussion needs. Hey everyone, Eggman here with another video, and today we have our first American BT10 breakdown. It is a Latin American BT10 breakdown because North American events are starting this weekend, but man, I'm just so excited for this format that I made an exception. I did this coverage, and I just really wanted to see what lists were doing well, and I knew you guys would probably want the same. So we do have a link to this in the description to this document if you guys are interested in these deck lists, and if you do get value from these videos and these deck lists, please consider hitting this like and subscribe button. It was a little bit of effort to get these, including the 9th to 16th list, and I think you guys would appreciate these, especially since there weren't any cross hearts in the top 8 on the original Bandai post either. So I hope you guys again get some value off this. But going into this breakdown, we do have 4 Alphamon, with one of them taking the event, which is pretty surprising. We'll talk about. We also do have 3 Minerva Loop, 3 cross hearts, 2 Blue Flares, a Black War Greymon, a Security Control, a Grandis, and a MetalGaruru X as well. So a good mix of BT9 list as well. Alphamon, the Grandis, and the MetalGarurumon, as well as a good helping of, I think, the list that a lot of people were thinking of playing and were interested in. You know, primarily there's Crossheart, there's Blue Flare, and Minerva Loop, which I think are the 3 strongest, at least from the BT10 meta there. So we're going to go over each list. Unfortunately, I don't have the names of the players. I just have their placing. So unfortunate to that. If you did get top 16, please let me know with the name, and I will update it in this document as well. I just don't have the names with me. So with that, let's go into our first place list with Alphamon. Starting off, we do have the first place Alphamon list, and I think I'm not the only one to say that I'm really surprised that Alphamon got 4 of the top 16 spots, including the #1 spot. It's been a really strong deck for a long time, and it could just be a case of, well, it's new meta. I'm just going to take the best deck from the previous meta, where I know I have it fine-tuned and I know how the deck works, compared to a lot of newer decks that are still finding out the ratios that work 100%. But man, it's really interesting, and I think in North America, a lot of people have been playing less and less Alphamon, strictly because we know that eventually we'll probably be getting a Duro Gray limit to 1, like it is in Japan. It hasn't been formally announced in North America yet, but it will probably get hit eventually. But while it's still a really good deck, but I think a lot of people kind of waned away from it because they know eventually it will be hit, so they didn't want to invest the time, the effort, the money to build a deck when they know it's going to be functionally worse in a little bit. So I can see that as well, but it's still a strong list, right? It's a very strong archetype that obviously has been winning events in the BT9 meta, and if you know what you're doing and you're strong enough, I think it's still obviously very good. It got 4 spots, and it did get a top first place. So I don't think there's anything really interesting in the ratios. Most of the card, it's really standard for a list like this. We know what cards we include. We have just some ratios that we change up, like between Breath of the Gods and Kongu, but everything else is usually pretty dang standard. So congrats to first place there again for their finish in this event. Going to our next list, we do have a Black War Greymon, and so most of these lists are just BT9 archetype. There's no BT10 cards in this one, and these Black War Greymon, there's also no BT10 cards either, which is really interesting to see. There is the Solarmon, I guess that is a Star Deck 12, not BT10, but that's like the newest card for this list, and really the only new card. Being able to pretty much shut off Digicross is really interesting for a lot of decks. Obviously, Crossheart hates to see a card like this sitting across the board, because it just means you can't do your Shoutmon plays and everything. But I think that Black War Greymon is in a really good spot. It's always been like at least like a gatekeeper for the meta, and honestly, just being able to sit on a Black War Greymon and or a Gaiomon with the potential of protection with the Alterous mode, but also just having the Metal Greymon letting you attack into things, that means you're just having a really rough time getting over and doing some stuff. So there is a little black package with the Maki, with the Tapermon, as well as the Kongu here, and Crimson Blaze and Gaia Force. Crimson Blaze is really nice to prevent your opponent from being able to play things, which is nice. And I don't know, just is really strong in a lot of ways. It's been gaining a lot of popularity, I think, over the last 2 sets. I don't think it's going anywhere. I think it's strong. I think people are going to be playing it for a little bit still. So I like the deck, which is good to see. So it's just very strong at what it does. I don't think anyone would say this deck is broken. I think it's incredibly strong and fair, but it's really good at what it does. So congrats to 3rd place there. Next up, we do have our 5th place Blue Flare. And so this is, I'd say this is one of the strongest decks in my mind from BT10. I think that the deck is just solely uninteractable at times. It reminds me a lot of Blue Hybrid, a worse version of Blue Hybrid. But again, if Blue Hybrid was literally, I'd say it was tier 0 almost for the meta. It was at the top. It just means that this deck is probably really, really good. And I don't think Blue's really taken any losses from this format. A lot of the stuff is still good. Obviously, we did only get one GRURU X, but I think the deck is still strong right now. Some interesting choices here for this list specifically is 2 of the security attack +1 and Inheritable Greymon. This is really nice because you can put it underneath the Metal Greymon as part of the Digicross. You don't have to use only blue Greymons, just anything with the Greymon in its name, you get to put it underneath. So you can put it in here, and then it has security attack +1, which is quite nice. The Cannondramon is a really, really interesting choice. You're able to, it has blocker, you restand it when you digivolve with it, and then once returned, when this Digimon deletes an opponent's Digimon, you get to unsuspend this Digimon. So you could digivolve it on top of the Metal Gray, and then you have Cannondramon, which is the blocker, which is interesting on the defense side. You could also technically digivolve Death Xmon into it, which is interesting too. It's all interesting choices here. But glad it did them well. There's also the 1 Forbidden Trident. There's 2 of the Startling Thunder because we are running the Jellymons as well, and Ice Wall, and then some Tamers as well. But obviously this is, I think, a pretty understood format. You put or at least deck, you put as many Blue Flare cards as you want into it. A couple tech choices because there is room for that, and this is what you get. So I like this list though. I think it's pretty creative, and I'm happy that it did well. So congrats to 5th place there. And next up we do have Minervamon, and there were quite a few Minerva, or at least Minerva loops in this top 16 as well. Pretty understood kind of how the loop works. I haven't made a video on my channel on how it works. I know a lot of people have, but it's pretty much the idea that this Minervamon, you can use this effect to place a level 5, and then by playing the level 5, you can play the werewolf mode, and you can use that to gain the memory back. All of that's really strong, especially with the Revive from Darkness, right? You get to delete one of your purple Digimon, then you may play level 5 or lower from your trash without paying its memory cost, right? So you use this to play Cerebrusmon. This plays the werewolf mode. This gets to pop this. So for 4 memory, you get 9 back, so you get +5 memory, and then you get a rush Cerberus mode on as well. So if you need to do that, that's fine. It's really strong if you have this setup. Obviously, it depends on your Minervamon having your opponent having 2 or fewer Digimon in place. If they have a wide board, you can't do it. But there's just a lot of strength in a loop like this in a game like Digimon, where looping can just pretty much win you the game. Some tech choices in Lilithmon, Creepymon, and also the Chaos mode. I do like the Chaos mode, especially since you're bringing back level 5s, and also a Death X mode, because why would you not? Why would you not play this card in any deck, in every deck? It's such a good card there. Other than that, I think it's pretty standard for how the list works. I think Minerva is very strong, especially against decks that don't go wide very often, and that's a lot of decks right now. So that is this. Congrats to 7th place on this one. Next up, we do have our 8th place security control list. Not a lot of new adds from the BT10 meta, and by not a lot, I mean only one. We do have Venusmon. When digivolving, all your opponent's Digimon gains security attack -1. And then also opponents until the end of your opponent's turn. So that just means that even Digimon that you haven't played yet will have that. And also opponent's turn, when your opponent's Digimon with security attack minus can't attack with Digimon and can't activate when attacking when Digivolve effect. So essentially, if you don't have a way to give security attack +1 to any of your Digimon, you get no effects, no attacks, and just no when attacking, no attacking are when Digivolving either. So I don't know why they can't attack this Digimon. Sorry, that's right. You can't attack Venusmon. So you can still attack, but you just can't attack this Digimon. And if you have security attack minus, you're not doing any damage anyways. So I think it's strong. You're only running one in this list anyways, but the overall security control is just great. Having so many Tamers, having like a couple cards, a couple Mimis out, and then saying, oh, I'm going to play Holy Wave for almost free, and then if you try to hit me again, I get 4 memory back kind of thing. All of this is really strong, really obnoxious, and I don't think it's going anywhere anytime soon. So if you like that, that's good. If you don't, sorry to tell you that. Anyways, going to our 10th place list, we do have Crossheart. And a lot of people thought that this was the best deck in the format. And obviously, there's room for that. This is one event, right? But I think this is kind of where I would expect it to win. And I'm not surprised that it not get top 8. I think if this deck wasn't revered as like a boogeyman as much as it is, I think less people would be prepared to how to beat the deck and how to play against it. But since it's been so hyped for so long, I think a lot of people know how the deck works and how to play against it, even though sometimes it's just a bricky mess that you can't build your things with and you can't do anything with. So I think, honestly, I don't think this is tier. It's like in between tier 1 and tier 2 at times. I think a lot of people will be playing it, so there will be tops just based on that fact alone. But it's just been, I don't know, it can brick a lot, and your opponent can know how to play against it pretty easily and mess it up, which is pretty rough for a deck like this. But going to this specific list, we do have, I'd say, the standard package of how you do choosing to play the Death Xmon, 1 Gravity Crush, which is interesting, Crimson Blaze and Sunrise Buster, 2 Fireballs to get rid of, I guess, like Solar Mons and other things in case they want to like prevent you from digicrossing. And then pretty standard tamers, we have 2 ties as well to give security attack +1 to our Shoutmon X4 and X5s, as well as a Christopher as another version of Mikey, essentially, which is nice. But yeah, I don't have a lot more to say than I haven't already on this list. It's gonna seem pretty similar to this for a couple weeks, but it's gonna be interesting. I don't think that it's gonna top as much as people are expecting it to be. I think it'll get 2 or 3 tops at most events, and I'm going to be honestly really surprised if it wins any regional size events as well. But that is our 10th place list. Congrats there. Next we have 13th place. It is Grandis, and Grandis did get some support, and I think it is probably the best green deck to be played right now, at least without EX3. I don't think Bloom Lord Knight is really doing as much as it can be doing. We do get a little bit of support. We do have another copy of Kokuomon, which doesn't need a 1 memory to digivolve as a level 3, which is nice. And then also inherited effect, when this Digimon deletes an opponent's Digimon, you get to gain 1 memory. So that can be good for what you're doing, just getting more memory. And then just some creative blue package stuff. So running a couple copies of Davis, which you can use to find one of your hybrids, or even your Leomon X antibody, which is interesting. It has all effects. When this Digimon would be deleted in value, play 1 Leomon from this Devolution sources, which means nothing because you're not playing Leomon, but being able to do some fancy stuff. You can also like Digivolve Korikakumon on top of it in case like you need to get an extra cycle for 1, I suppose. And then also, because it needs to, it has hybrid and traits are Tommy, so you can't get the effect. It's only if you do this on top of Kumamon you get like the stun effect for it. But I'd say the rest of it's pretty standard. We're playing Pomamon as well. Players can't play Digimon by effects, so this is really nice for anything that does do that. Like, for example, Minerva Loop can't affect this Pomamon until it goes away because they play with effects, which is nice. And then obviously you have like a big ending boy. We're also running some Snymons as well to play from security and suspend for a hard cost if you need to. And yeah, it's pretty standard. I think Grandis is in okay spot right now. I'm not surprised that it topped an event like this, and I think people will probably play it, and it'll probably get a couple tops in the next couple weeks. So congrats again to our 13th place player. And lastly, we do have our 14th place MetalGaruru X, and I don't have a lot to say about this list because it does have 1 new card. It is Omni X Anti. When digivolving with X Antibody, its devolution cards reduce this devolution by 2, so you digivolve for 5. When digivolving, return all your opponent's Digimon with the highest level to the bottom of his owner's deck, and when digivolving and when attacking, once returned, by placing 1 X Antibody at level 6 from this Digimon's devolution cards, the bottom of his owner's deck, reveal all of your opponent's Digimon. Reveal all your opponent's security and then trash 1 of them, place the rest of your face down, and then shuffle it. So being able to like get rid of a security for free is nice, especially in a list like this that plays aggressive. If you're playing against something like security control, when you need to make sure that all their big bad boys are out of their security, this is a really nice way to do it, or at least see which big bad boys you have to play around. But other than that, I don't know. This deck is still really consistent. It still does a lot. And honestly, I think a lot of people probably went to Blue Flare if they like blue aggro. And I'm going to predict we're going to see more and more people go back to this deck as the format goes, as they realize it's just more consistent and just very, very strong. So that is the breakdown for you guys today. I really appreciate you guys if you made it this far. Again, if you haven't liked and subscribed the video, I really, really recommend doing it. I do appreciate it if you do. And I'm looking forward to our own BT10 events starting this weekend as well. So again, thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you all next time.